I'm the oldest of three, with two younger brothers, each born 7 years apart. I affectionately call my siblings second and third. I first noticed second had a careless tendency when third was 3 years old. We were walking third to the park, with me holding his hand. I asked second if he could look after third for a minute, and he agreed. No more than 5 seconds after assuming responsibility, he let go of third's hand, and third ran onto the middle of the street, right in front of a moving car. Thankfully, we were in a school zone and the car was moving slowly. I was able to yank third off the road before it was ran over. When I reminded second of this years later, he denies it ever happened. Fast forward a decade, I'm married and have my own house. Second and third are still living with my parents, with second being in his last year of university and third in his 7th grade. My parents asked me to come over to watch my brothers while they go out of the country for a week. I agree. All goes well for the first 3 days. Third gets home from school first, then me from work, then second from his evening classes. On the 4th day, I'm awakened in the middle of the night by a blood-curdling scream. I scramble out of the bed and reach for the light switch. I feel someone's hand is already there. As my eyes struggle to adjust, I make out the black silhouette of a man standing in front of me. I have no time to react as a knife plunges into my neck. Someone left the door open. He laughs. I jolt awake. I go back to sleep. I'm awakened by third pounding on my door, asking me to send him to school because he missed the bus. Typical kid, playing Roblox way past his bedtime. As I take him out of the house, I notice second's key left in the front door's lock from the previous night. First off, I'd like to mention that these are experiences I had many years ago and they were all in my dreams. So there's a large chance that not all I remember is completely true, but this is how I remember them happening. Secondly, I'd like to say that the last dream I had was when I was 9 or 8, and I'm now 14. So, once again, there's a definite portion of this that is true, but I'm not sure what really happened and was my memory being messed up. Thirdly, these are 3 separate experiences, but I can't help but feel that they're all combined in some way. These dreams started when I was only 6, and they were normally short, strange scenes of me waking up in my room and some gruesome, monstrous creature always looking different at the beginning would either scream, roar, or just completely attack me. And I'd wake up in a cold sweat. As I got older, the dreams got longer, diving more in depth into the story. The first change I remember is sometimes I'd see it get to me, and I'd wake up with a weird pain in my chest. Other times, however, I'd escape it, and before anything else would happen, I would wake up. Every month or so that this went on, the dreams would get longer, and the monstrous creature would always get more gruesome and more scary. One time, I ended up escaping the monster and making it to the basement for safety. After the one time this occurred, it would always be me running to the basement for safety. I would run into the laundry room for safety, and my mom would lock the door with me and my sister inside, but the door wasn't able to hold it. I remember seeing these bloodied claws ripping through the thick wooden doors and my mom flipping out, sending me and my sisters to hide. After we hid, there would be a loud scream followed by silence. Every once in a while, it'd find me, and each time the dream occurred, it was like the creature was learning and understanding how I thought because it would occur more often. The gruesome creature would sometimes eat my sister in front of me, only to force me to wake up after. And other times, it would torture me, waking me only after it seemed satisfied. These dreams occurred through a 3-year period, happening about once a week, maybe twice, or maybe down to one time a month at some points. The last time I ever had a dream like this, it was the exact same thing, except for this time, when it came to take either me or my sister, I stood up to it. I remember its bitty red eyes glaring at me and it smiled with a sharp, bloody tooth as if it was enjoying this. It was about 7 feet tall and had razor-sharp claws, and its body was fat, covered in matted brown fur. The creature laughed, and to this day, it is still one of the most sinister things I think I've ever heard. I had terrible anger issues back then, and so I was about to scream my head off at this. I looked it dead in the eyes and screamed at it to go away, and then I woke up. These dreams never occurred again. The next strange experience was when I was a bit older, maybe 10 or 11. I woke up from a normal sleep, but I didn't feel awake. I think it might have been sleep paralysis, but I'm not sure because I've never experienced this. I felt a cold tap on my hand, and I had a shiver roll down my spine. Wanting to see what tapped on my finger, I rolled my head over. I saw a 8-foot tall shadow crouched over me with long fingers extending. I tried to scream and move, but I couldn't make a noise. I shut my eyes and held them shut, and that's where I think I fell asleep. I don't remember anything from after I shut my eyes, so that's where that part ends. The last experience I had was when I was 12. I fell asleep like any ordinary night, but then my dream started. I think it was an out-of-body experience, but I'm not sure. I was standing in my room, but I saw myself in my bed sleeping. I was confused and looked around my room. There were weird, looming shadows, and when I looked back at my body, something was lifting me up. I don't completely remember what it was, but I do remember seeing it carry me over its shoulder into my living room. I followed it, and I saw it throw my body on the couch, and that's when I moved towards myself, only to wake up in the exact same spot I'd seen myself in my dream. I have no clue how I got there and what happened during this dream, but these are 3 of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me. Just for some background info, I'm an 18-year-old male currently living in New York. I am 6'4" and buff. I've always been the center of ridicule and teasing from a young age due to my size. Just for some context, I stopped growing in the ninth grade 4 years ago. I was already done with puberty and had a full on beard and was adult like. I took advantage of this sometimes. This story takes place when I was in the 10th grade. I was lonely after a breakup with my then 7-month-old girlfriend. I was looking for a one night stand, so I turned to Tinder. I set up a fake profile with my real picture and waited. There was this gorgeous girl who I matched with. This girl was too good to be true, which gave me the first red flag, yet I went along with it anyway. We exchanged innocent messages and planned to meet at her place the next day at around 9 p.m. I wasn't as excited as you would think because I had some doubts on this girl, because I didn't know if she was real. So, 9 p.m. rolls around and I get ready to go to her place. I mentally prepared myself if anything crazy was going to go down. Before I left, I texted my dad saying I was going to a friend's house and left. I asked my good friend, who was 6 years my senior, to drive me since he had a car. He warned me to be cautious. Long story short, he drives me to our apartment and I ring the doorbell. I hear light footsteps behind the door and a high-pitched voice saying, "Be right there." That's when I texted my friend telling him everything is fine and that he should leave. Boy, was I wrong. The door opens to the girl in the picture. I immediately felt excited, which didn't last for long. On my Tinder account, I wrote that I was 24 when I really was only 15. She, not knowing this, swiftly asked me if I wanted a drink. I said I didn't want any, which visibly made her facial expression turn from happy to angry. I realized that maybe I was going to be drugged and I was not about to take my chance, so I asked to go to the bathroom. She then, out of the blue, said sure happily. Again, her weird response confirmed my theory in my head. I go to the bathroom and quickly text my friend to come back and pick me up. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure dressed in all black standing in the shower, trying to hide behind a curtain. I figure he saw me looking at him because not even 2 seconds later he lunged at me. I was scared even though I was massively taller than this man. He tried pushing me to the floor, yet to no avail. I overpowered him too vastly. I grabbed him by the shirt and looked him in the eye. He was around 5 feet 10, sort of buff, mid-30s, bald, and looked to be of Russian descent. I pushed him on the floor and cursed him out because I know some Russian. He cursed at me, which is when I punched him in the face. And there I was, a 15-year-old, in a bathroom with a knocked out man. I panicked. But I kept my cool and took my phone and took many photos of the man. By then, my friend texted me and told me he was outside of the building waiting for me. But also by then, the girl opened the door to the bathroom and started to scream. I pushed her with all my power and sprinted the hell out of the apartment. When I got to my friend's car, I frantically explained to him what happened. Only then did I realize I could have been drugged, killed, or even worse. I obviously took screenshots of her profile and messages between us. Even though I had all the proof in the world to lock those people up, I didn't because I was too scared of my parents and lying to them. Moral of the story: be very cautious when dating online. When I was younger, I'd go visit my grandparents all the time. They lived in a one-floor house with an unfurnished basement. I never liked it down there. It felt small for a big basement. There was a little door down there that was for storage, and I always got a terrible feeling when going close to it. And let me add that this was a newer house that was about 6 years. Now, during a time I was about 6 or 7, it felt so uncomfortable going down there. Even when I was with someone, I didn't like it. I remember going down there with my grandma to help with something. She had to run upstairs because someone rang the doorbell. She said she would be right back, even though she knew how I felt about being alone down there. But I nodded and said okay. She was gone, and I was alone, and I started to get a bad feel in the pit of my stomach. I didn't move and didn't want to, even though the lights were on. Now, this is where everything started happening, and it still gives me chills. The lights started to flicker, and I started to hear noises, and what sounded like talking. And it was not coming from upstairs, but in the storage room. I heard someone say my name. Now, here is the part that freaks me out the most. The voice sounded like my grandma. I was confused as hell. How am I hearing her when she's upstairs? I didn't want to move, but me being the curious one I am, I started moving towards the storage room door. The closer I got, the worse the bad feeling came. When I got to the door, the lights turned off in the basement. I wanted to run upstairs and hide, go home somewhere that wasn't the basement. I heard my name again for the second time. My grandma's voice asking me to open the door to help her. So I did, and I regret it. I couldn't hear anything but faint laughing that felt like forever. But then the laughing stopped and the lights turned back on in the basement. And I felt a little bit better with the lights back on. But the downside, I could see a little in the storage room. I saw a small clown doll in the storage room. And my grandma hates clowns with a passion and wants nothing to do with them. So why is there a clown doll? I have no idea. Then the lights turned on in the storage room. I saw a red that looked like blood all over the place. I screamed and blacked out, and the next thing I knew, I was lying on a couch, my grandma looking at me and asking if I was okay. I have no idea if that was real or a dream, but it sure as hell felt real. If you have any idea, please let me know.